Welcome to Building Foundations for Education. The Education Foundation, in partnership with the School District of Indian River County, is excited to present the 26th Annual Indian River Regional Science and Engineering Fair. And with me are three special guests to talk about the upcoming regional fair and how it makes an impact on our students. Welcome, Pat Heiser. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Cynthia.
And Becky Teske, I'm glad to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
And Lisa Presti as well. So I have the A team with us today to talk about science. And each of you have a really important role. And Pat, you've been involved with the fair and with the Ed Foundation for many years, but it's so nice to see you now in a new role.
Yes, it's great to be back with the school district in my position as the secondary science coordinator for curriculum in the curriculum instruction department for the school district. And it's a great opportunity to come back, and I'm glad to be back.
And you have a partner.
Yes.
Yes. we are definitely a partnership.
Yeah. So
yes,
Becky, tell me about your role.
I basically am serving as the elementary specialist, K-8, as far as Pat's partner, and we have teamed up and cover the curriculum and the instruction department as a team throughout the district, and I served as a parent as well, and I've been a teacher in the district, so this has been a good opportunity for me.
That's awesome. And Lisa, you have two hats that you're wearing today.
Yeah, I teach at Gifford Middle School Science, and then I do the secondary science fair coordinator for Ed Foundation.
Well, that's great. And I'm excited this year because, as we mentioned, a partnership, and it's a unique partnership in that we're the only education foundation in the state that partners with the school district to present a regional fair. So we all joke that it's the best for that reason. But in all seriousness, I do believe it is one of the best models. And I know, Pat, you and Becky have worked specifically as a team this year to do something a little different. Do you want to share about that, about how we've come up with those standards and those norms?
Basically, Pat and I got together, and with Pat's experience with all the years that he had done science fair, we decided that the district and the Ed Foundation needed to be on the same page, and which we always have been. It just hasn't really been put out all the time to the teachers, or communication has sometimes gotten away from us. So we really decided that that was in the best interest of the students and the teachers, and we joined partnership and came up with a great guideline for teachers to be able to use, and that's how it was presented, and it of course was done with the Ed Foundation's partnership as well.
And the whole idea is we want to make it something that keeps the enthusiasm of students alive. I think sometimes as parents or teachers, it can be overwhelming. So hopefully through this process, we have hope that we've streamlined that a little bit.
Yeah, the guidelines were needed just because nothing had really been written on paper. And it's been nice to have input from many different people to make sure that we are on the same page, that we are doing things for students in a positive way.
That's great. And Lisa, I'm thrilled to have your involvement through the Ed Foundation in the prior approval process, sometimes known as the paperwork. So do you want to talk a little bit about your role and why that's important?
Well, our goal with the paperwork is to ensure student safety. First and foremost, that's the big deal. We want to make sure that what they're doing is safe for them. It's safe for if they're working with animals, that the animals are safe, and it's just ensuring that there's no way that they're going to be harmed by doing this experiment. It should be exciting and fun for them, but we want to make sure, because children don't always think it all the way through. So they need that adult supervision to kind of watch and make sure that their plans are good.
Absolutely. And as many of our viewers may or may not know, we are a state and Intel affiliated fair. So we agree to certain guidelines as we run our regional fair, and that the projects that advance the regional fair advance to those guidelines. And I know almost 14 years ago when I started, Pat was on my science fair planning committee, and we had students and parents submitting projects, testing the flammability of fabrics with bullets, pulling kids behind cars on skateboards, and I thought, I don't know much about science, but this does not sound safe. And so could one of you speak to that process and why, who's responsible for student safety? Is it the teacher? Is it the school? Is it the Ed Foundation? Is it the district? Who's responsible?
Well, when you look at it in the whole picture, I think everybody has a little piece in it. I think first and foremost, the teachers that are involved with the students, because they have the direct availability with the students. But beyond that, you have parents as well as the school district, and in a way the Ed Foundation too, with the fact that we're all working together to try to make this process work. And with everybody's working together, it makes a big difference.
And Becky, you probably see it from both sides, as a parent who's participated, and in your important role with the district. So
correct. And many years of as a parent, I have four children that are still in the system, and so we have many years of doing projects. And then as a teacher, many years as a fifth grade teacher. I think that's the biggest thing, is just understanding that it's about the experience and it's about the process, and being able to learn the scientific process as well as the STEM, developing prototypes and doing the STEM design process. So I think overall that's where it comes from. I mean, safety is important, as was said, it's number one. I mean, that's what's most important. And I think it's all of the responsibility of all of us is, and some of the responsibility, hopefully this year, the idea was that it was somewhat taken off of parents a little bit. And that was kind of what we did with the guidelines and really put it back in the classroom, and because that's where the process starts. And our students, the nature of science standards and the standards that our students have to learn moving forward, both for the SSA in 5th grade and in 8th grade, and it's important that they get that foundation, and those foundational skills are vital to them to move forward successfully. So I think that was really the purpose of where the K-5 thought process came through this year, and it's hard on teachers. It's a lot, but I think within the curriculum that we've got school fairs going on right now, and they're doing a great job.
And I think one of the things too that I heard a lot from both of you and also from Lisa through the years is that science is in everything, and we don't want it to be one more thing, that it's embedded in just about every subject. And I'm sure, Lisa, in your teaching at the elementary level and now back again at middle school, you see that as well.
It's everywhere. It's a matter of looking at it through the right perspective. If you can just get the kids to see this really is science, even though it's something you see every day, and just relating it.
So I have to tell you, I love science fair. I love the process. I see where it takes children, how it helps children who maybe were more of not maybe at their full potential, and I see how it helps them reach and grow, and how they've gone on to internships and to colleges they never imagined. But I'll just put on the table, why is science fair important to each of you?
Well, for me personally, when we look at things that we do in the education system, we sometimes don't take into account the possibilities of students. And to me, science fair is one of those things that actually brings out the best in kids. And with the ability for them to do a whole package between doing a written paper, especially with the middle school and high school students, to oral presentation skills, and to be able to be creative with their boards and being able to develop that thought process is, to me, an outstanding educational tool that as a classroom teacher I loved, because it brought out the best in kids.
I agree. And Becky, I've talked a lot, so much of it is applied learning.
It is.
And
it is definitely, I think that's probably one of my most favorite pieces of it, is the application, is being able to take something that could be of such great interest to a student and apply it to a real world concept, and something that they want to say, hey, how can I figure that out? I don't know. Let's figure it out. Let's see if we can figure that out. And I think that's the biggest piece is, when you look at how do you get students to be more engaged? And that's something that teachers strive to do every day in the classroom, and whether it be science, ELA, math, and it's a huge piece and a huge component that we want our students to be engaged. And that's one of the best way to be engaged, is to have a science project or scientific experiment or something where they have to go through those processes. Yes. And it also, for our teachers, on the other end of that, it takes our teachers out of that box sometimes. It's, K-5 is a little bit out of a comfort, because, that's not we didn't go to school to be experts in science. And, so it is getting out of a box that, lately something we've been saying with some of the teachers is there is no box anymore. There is no box. And if we take that whole process of thinking away, I think it allows for a lot more creativity.
Well, it almost allows the students to lead the learning.
It does.
Which is exciting.
Absolutely.
So Lisa, you've seen this also from the perspective as a parent because your daughter went to state and you've seen how your daughter benefited from that experience as well. So what's your take on why science fair is important?
I honestly think it's watching the kids that don't want to do it. I don't want to talk and I don't want to present. And then watching them present just even to their classmates. And at the end of 5 minutes, they've already changed. You know, they're no longer looking down and their classmates are asking questions and now there's a conversation and you took somebody who was just a minute ago terrified and now they're beaming. And that to me is the best part, is to watch them change from that I don't want to do this to, wow, look what I did. It's great.
It is. It's exciting. And I think there's so many skills from the planning piece. I think you've said, Pat, many times it's the one thing that students get extra credit for, doing a project on their own, now hopefully a little bit more in the classroom, building those communication skills, and it really levels the playing field for all children to excel. So as the school fairs begin to take place or wrap up, we'll be culminating that information and preparing for the regional fair. So what's some advice you'd have, each of you, for students who are preparing to come to the regional fair? What do you think makes a project a winner? What helps a student be a winner?
To me, it's just the preparation. And like after, one of the things I always recommended to my students is, matter of fact, this week coming up on Wednesday, all the middle schools are having their fairs on Wednesday. And it was always to me, okay, once you finish the fair this week, don't just put it aside and just put it on the shelf and wait till January and then the day before the fair, pull it all out. You know, prepare yourself, go through some of the things the judges may have said to you at the local fair that you need to kind of work on. Because in most of the school fairs, the judges do a great job of giving advice to students and things that they could do to make it better. And for those that take that advice and actually improve their project, because they can still work on it. Those are the ones, that would be my piece of advice for students especially. Don't put it away, work on it.
And you can add, a lot of students don't realize that they can continue to research and continue to add information.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Becky?
And I think just to add to what Pat said, I mean, that's pretty much, I was going to say, you know, it's important to use the judges' sheets from the school fair and take that information and then modify and make the changes that are needed. And I think one of the largest pieces to it too is the ownership of it. You know, the student ownership of that, this is my work and I did this. And so them being able to, you know, be able to present on a board that is strictly on a project that they've done, that right there is, you know, to me is a, you know, it's hits out of the ballpark because they come in already beaming and excited because they know that's theirs.
Right, and we always stress through the judge orientation we give is it's all about what the student has learned. The board, and even some parents will say, it's great that you put pixie ducks and sparkle and stuff, but so much of it is the student presentation. That's what we coach our judges on, evaluating the students. So.
Right, just their confidence level and making sure that they feel comfortable standing and talking and practice with the board. You know, what parts of the board do you want to show? That kind of a thing.
So the school fairs are going on now. The regional fair will be coming up on Saturday, January 27th. We'll have the best and the brightest of Indian River County advance to that fair. So we've got about 350 K to 5th graders, and then the balance of that comes from middle school and high school. So those students will come and they'll set up that Friday before. And so Pat, you've been part of that setup process, and sometimes it's difficult to be able to explain, but what's some advice? Now, elementary projects, of course, are set up by their teachers. Middle school and high school students arrive before 6 p.m. that Friday. So what are some pointers you would give for setting up a project successfully?
Well, just to make sure that that you've gone through and looked at your board, make sure you have everything on your board, and that, you know, that's a key. I know the last few years, the idea of the photo credits and making sure that they've got the permissions from those that they took pictures from the board or their graphs and charts. It always seems to be a last minute thing that students need to do. And the other thing is to get there as early as you can and not wait till the last minute to set your board up.
That's right, because projects have to be set up the Friday before the fair.
Absolutely.
So Becky, again, you have great experience from participating as a parent and a teacher. Right. What advice would you have for Project Setup Day?
I think overall, if specifically for K to 5, the teachers stay on top of the ones that they know, and as well as, I mean, you have your science. We have great science coordinators in our district, and they've been in contact, and have any questions that have come up, they've emailed, they've asked. So I think that overall, with their support, that the students would be, having that prepped and ready to go Friday, so that that is ready, not lingering, something waiting till the last minute, like Pat said. And I think that would alleviate a lot of the stress on both the students and the teacher on both ends.
And so one of the things a lot of people may not realize is those files, those student files come to us, project files, over Christmas break, and we read them and we look to make sure those projects have gone through the prior approval process if it involves humans or animals. And Lisa, is there anything you want to add to that part of it to remind?
Well, something I thought of too is they need 10 copies of their abstract for middle school. So that is always a problem. Yep, the secondary, they need 10 copies of their abstract in addition to the citation line on their board. But as far as the prior approvals, there's a checklist that you can print right out, and it tells you every single thing that you need. And so just go through that checklist and make sure that all the papers that need to be in there are in there.
Right. And what Lisa's referring to, of course, is on the Education Foundation's website under Science Fair. But you're right. So once the projects have been set up, then our judges come in and we do a judge orientation, and they pick up those abstracts, or pick up and read them, and they study the boards, and they do spend a lot of time preparing to be able to interview. So one of the things that we're going to need is we will need judges. So if you're listening and watching, we invite you to be a judge at the Indian River Regional Science and Engineering Fair on Saturday, January 27th. And that takes place, secondary checks in at 7:15 and elementary at 8:15. And so that process, I thank you, Pat, we refined that elementary process, I think 14 years ago, where we used to have little people sit for almost 4 hours in a chair. And I was campaigning for the job, and I thought, I don't know anything about science, but this is painful for these little. So Pat and the team we brainstormed, and we came up with the process of having the students arrive. I think we have 3 rotations, and all of this is posted on our website, so that a school reports. You want to tell a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, so with the elementary projects, the schools have different times to come in. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's like 4 schools at a particular session, and it's a 30-minute orientation, then a 30-minute session, and then a few minutes between schools to bring the next group of students in. And that's a whole lot smoother for everyone, and as far as even parents too, because I can remember the days when it was at Vero Beach High School and in the cafeteria for the elementary projects, and waiting for everybody to get done. And the process we have now is a very good process.
I think so, and I think for elementary parents, even though they can't be in that room, there's plenty of windows. And I know, Becky, it always cracks me up on the inside. You see these parents' classes.
Oh, yes.
But the good news is I think this has worked well. All of the coordinators have T-shirts of a particular color, so parents can see that there's plenty of supervision while their child is in there presenting, and that's worked out well. And then secondary arrives and is in the gym, Lisa, right? And that process used to be an all-day process, which we've condensed to 3 hours. And I think that's gone well too.
As far as I've seen.
Yeah. So then that happens. We have the judging, and then I think the best part is awards. So awards takes place for elementary on Sunday, the 28th. And I'll let each of you tell a little bit about what parents and students should know or think about for the award ceremony, which begins at Sebastian River High School at 3 p.m. for elementary. Again, getting there early is a key, especially at the elementary awards. And I know in years past too, they've tried to have each of the schools sit in a particular spot, and there's a sign so that everybody kind of knows where they should be. And to me, the elementary awards are just a special time, and it's one of the rare programs that we have in education that we really, really do reward those kids that do well, and publicly reward them.
And, you know, we think about athletics, we do that all the time in athletics. But when we think about the kind of things that we do with educational programs, this is special. And I think that's why Science Fair is a special thing.
Absolutely. And what about for you, Becky?
I think one of the biggest things that I hope to see this year especially is with K to 5, the fact that our 4th and 5th graders did group projects in the classroom. So, you know, even though the students that are presenting on behalf of their class and on behalf of the projects that they did as a culmination of their groups, it was really a whole class. I mean, these classes have participated as a whole, and they've done them in groups and they've shared them. And then, so, you know, I'm hoping to see that what we probably will have is a turnout of more students from a classroom, because they all take ownership of that. It's, you know, other than the 2 that are presenting, but it's an ownership of the class project itself. So, you know, the 4 or 5 class projects that are within the classroom, and depending on what makes it. But I think that that's what we will see, is a little bit more participation as far as students that show up to come.
Well, and I think my favorite part of that whole weekend is, you know, when the students' names are called and the photo drops, and you see grown adults jumping up and down and screaming. You know, we don't see that in academics. We see that in athletics all the time, but to see parents and students and teachers going wild, it's really exciting to see that happen. And Lisa, you've been a part of that process as well.
It's just such a wonderful thing to watch these little tiny people get up there and be celebrated for their scientific achievement.
My favorite part is they call the name and they're looking at their
They're
picture.
trying to see.
And the mom and dad are like trying to get their attention so they can take the picture. The little kid's still looking up there. And some people will turn around, they're still standing, and we're like, on to the next.
Right.
You know, okay, go along.
Yeah.
So, but it is exciting. And then, of course, secondary awards. Elementary, we try and stick exactly to an hour, because usually there's a Super Bowl game. I don't think we're up against Super Bowl this year.
Not this year.
But we try and stick to 1 hour. Secondary, we try as well. Last year, we gave out $1.2 million in college scholarships, and hopefully we'll give out just as much. FIT is a wonderful partner, and Embry-Riddle, Indian River State College, and then a lot of very generous donors. So we'll announce state bids. Pat, do you want to tell what a state bid is?
So when we run the regional fair, there's a group of judges that are looking specifically for projects that merit state recognition to go to the Florida State Science and Engineering Fair. And those particular projects, out of the typically 100 to 200 plus middle school to high school projects, so there's around 20 or so that are selected to go to the state fair, State Science and Engineering Fair. And so that's quite a special group of students, and those are the cream of the crop, and the projects are just dynamic.
I remember one year, I think it was the year before last, they said it's the top 1% of all students in the state of Florida that advanced to the state fair. And Lisa, you're nodding. I think you were there with me when they announced that. So it's quite phenomenal. And then we have an Intel bid, international bid. And Lisa, do you want to share what international is, what that means?
Well, the International Fair is just that. It's from all over the world. These students come and basically present their projects in a forum with people from other countries, and it's an amazing opportunity.
So anyways, and then it culminates. So last year we had 100% of our students who went to state take top awards. So no pressure on our kids this year. But I think that's a testimony going back to our judges, because one of the things we implemented was having a coaching session. So I think Becky's right. I think the students learn a lot from the mentors and coaches they interact through the school fair, the regional fair, and then following the regional fair, we have that to prepare them and then to advance to it. So all of that goes so quickly, and time flies so quickly. So as we prepare to wrap up, what would be a plug that you would give for someone watching to get involved? There's many ways they can get involved as a judge, as a volunteer, but I know, Pat, you've had help me direct parking out at Gifford Middle.
Well, there's plenty of things, especially the day of the fair. There's volunteers are always welcome, and judging and judges too, and those are key things. And we're very lucky in our community to have a wide variety of experts in many areas of science, and as a testament to our community, it's a testament to the kids, and especially when you mentioned earlier that we had last year 100% of our students place at the state science fair, and that's quite an accomplishment.
It's huge. It's huge. And then, of course, we have public viewing that happens that weekend. And Becky, tell them, why should they come to see public viewing?
I think I was just along with, just saying how to be involved. Overall, whether you are, whether you've been part of the process, whether you participated in a project, whether you were part of as a parent volunteering in a classroom, helping put a board together, or I think the end result is what we see come out as the most beneficial. And it's just, seeing like their little faces when they feel that, the success, or even, your older students just being able to sit and explain an entire project, something that they've done and worked on for 3 months. And so I think whether you've been part of it and you're part of the volunteering piece, and you can park cars, or you can judge, or you can just be there to help, move the children from place to place that day. Or just coming to the ceremony and actually seeing what the end result is, and seeing how they react with
I tell
it,
everyone
think.
It's the good news in education.
Right.
Too often in the news you hear the negative things, and it's really
Right.
the great news, and to be inspired by little people. We've had judges volunteer who've had extensive business and scientific backgrounds, and sometimes I've had them judge at elementary, and they're amazed at how these little students, little people, have this wealth of knowledge at such a young age. So, Lisa, what would be your plug for Science Fair for those who are watching?
I think anybody that's interested in judging should try it, because people who've never done it and then do are just thrilled to have spoken to the children, and they just gain so much. I think it's a mutual thing. The judges really get a lot out of it. So I would encourage you to step out of your comfort zone and come and judge.
Well, good. Well, thank you all for being with us, and we'll have to do another show afterwards to recap all the highlights and the great things, but thank you for being partners of the Education Foundation, partners to our students, so it's exciting. So we've been talking about the Indian River Regional Science and Engineering Fair, and we hope that you'll join us as a volunteer. You can sign up online at the Education Foundation website, or give us a call at 564-0034. Either way, you'll make a difference in the life of a child and open doors to student success. Thanks for being with us.